Okay. Next item is the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second it.
We want to do a roll call on that? All right, I guess all in favor.
Aye.
Okay, approved. Okay, next item, audience. Are there any items not on the agenda you want to bring up this time? Okay. If not, we'll move on to number 5. Approval of the P&Z Commission meeting minutes, January 21st.
I make a motion to approve those minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I have to second that, abstain on that, Doug.
You're abstaining? Okay,
Wasn't here for it, so.
okay. Okay. Very good. Okay, next item, number 6. Consider a motion to recommend council approve PUD master plan for Bridgeport Plat 2. Have somebody to present today?
Try to get this where everybody can see it.
Here, could you present your name and so forth? Okay, very good.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Tom Whitman with NAP Properties, 5000 Westtown Parkway, Suite 400, West Des Moines. So we have revisited some of the issues with Bridgeview Plat 2, and we've met with the neighbors, and we provided them with a memorandum of understanding that what we're doing here along our south line between Bridgeview and Pelican, we're showing 7 outlots that are the same width as their existing lots, and then extend back into our property 50 feet. And that area has some nice trees on it, and they were interested in having more separation between the 2 lots north of them, and we were able to get that worked out, to provide them, like I said, with a memorandum of understanding. Beyond that, we are showing 50 lots, that is the same number of lots that we had previously. And we're showing the extension of Bridgeview into a cul-de-sac as we did before. And we're showing the extension of Pelican, that's coming back to Parker, and it's coming back between Washington Avenue and Phillips Street. I believe there's 410 feet of horizontal separation here and 416 here. I might have those flipped, but quite a bit of separation. And we are showing the trail connection and extending that across the street, that sidewalk on the opposite side of the street. And we're showing a 15-foot wide landscape buffer here along the west side of Park. And if you find this acceptable, we will be submitting a preliminary plat shortly, perhaps as soon as next week. And that will address other issues such as utility layout and grading and things like that.
Okay.
So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Yeah, I mean, Tom addressed it pretty well. The 3 concerns that the commission had mentioned were coordinating with neighbors, which they have spent quite a bit of time doing, extending that trail across the street rather than just having it dead end at the sidewalk. And then there was a concern about the location of the intersection for Pelican Drive. I did have Justin Jackson from who's our traffic engineer, and he reviewed that location and made sure that, in fact, as shown, does meet the SUDOT's requirements for park. I guess from staff's perspective, they've addressed the concerns.
Okay. It's like more tree preservation and,
Yeah, I was looking at the density, we've got just a little over 20 acres and 50 lots, and that's like 2.5 lots per acre. For 70-foot lots, that's maybe a little on the low side, but when you look at the size of the lots, the extra depth, saving more trees, that's why we're a little lower than we might typically be.
mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just on a density basis, I can tell we've got extra room in the depth of these lots. And indeed, some of them are as deep as 350 feet, so that's more than twice a standard lot depth of, say, 125.
Oh, I guess one other thing the plan does show is relocating, there's a storm sewer that would have run right along the South Platte boundary in the vicinity of where Outlot Y is now, and they've actually moved that to the north too, so that will help preserve some trees in the vicinity of Outlot X and Y that are just west of Bridgeview. So,
Okay.
so that helps preserve some trees there too in terms of the utility corridor.
Any other questions or comments?
I guess the comment I would have is the concern regarding where Pelican Drive entered Parker Boulevard was one that I had last time, and I still have that concern. It wasn't related to the distance necessarily from those streets. It was more related to our grid system and trying to have as few access points on Parker as we could, with it being one of the major streets in our town. We do have some access management plans on some of our other higher density streets. We don't have an access management plan on Parker. However, to date, we have always had access points be across from existing access points along there. We don't have any ordinance or any regulation that would require that by any means.
Right, and SUDAS does allow them to not be opposite so long as they meet a particular offset spacing, which this does. So, I mean, in terms of any city regulation, they've met it. So.
And I
Yeah.
can't argue with that statement at all. However, I still have concerns with our comprehensive plan and some of the goals set out in it regarding having minimal access points on some of our major streets, and also just the ability to have fewer access points where people are turning on and off these major streets. I guess some of this is maybe we all come to our roles in the city with some baggage probably that we have brought with us. Some baggage I have brought with me is I lived in West Des Moines for about 18 years at 3 different points, all of them very close to Ashworth Road. If you look at Ashworth Road from what West Des Moines calls First Street, the rest of the world calls it 63rd Street. If you start there and go west on Ashworth for 6-7 miles, you can count the points where you can cross Ashworth straight across on your hands. It's just a ridiculous case of planning and zoning and losing control of the situation. This is not as critical. I don't want to make it sound like it is, but it is a concern of mine, and I think something that we should really be cautious of when we have, putting in new developments. We have options to have the streets be across from existing streets. The prior plan we had for this, which was unapproved, was just a concept, not approved by P&Z, not approved by council, just a concept that did show it being across from existing streets of Phillips and Washington. I think a lot of us thought that having both of those accessed was a bit of an overkill. But I still have that concern about the street coming in from this development not meeting up with Phillips Street. Additionally, I guess, just some other general comments. I cannot express enough my appreciation for you going out and talking to residents and meeting with them. I did get some calls from them, actually.
And that was a concern in last meeting. I know a couple of you weren't at last meeting. It was Doug Sire that actually asked the petitioner to go out and meet with local residents. He's not here to thank you, so I want to make sure you hear that. And in seeing that the proposal that came back, we haven't heard from the folks from the audiences yet, but it certainly looks as though some headway was made with that. So certainly appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely.
Thank you for comments. The only other question I had was on the parkland dedication, you'd mentioned, how that Z? Is that?
That's, well, and maybe now it's called Lot C on this plan, so sorry.
Okay, that's why, that might be a typo.
Well, it may have related to an earlier version of the plan, and I didn't change my notes to.
Oh, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it's, what that is a strip, that little strip
Okay.
where the trail connect.
Oh, that's
Sidewalk.
right. The other comments from commission members?
I agree with you about trying to be across the access points, but when I look at what was originally thought of in this one, it's pretty clear that this does save more of the natural growth that's there than this one would. And I think it's a fair compromise. I mean, to do something like that with the goal of having, securing some of those trees. And hopefully when the folks do build their homes in there, they will do what they can to preserve as many trees that are on their lots as they can. So I guess that remains to be seen.
Any comments from the audience, neighbors?
Yeah, Jared Foss, 1520 Seagrass. I'm here on behalf of our neighbors, the ones, the 7 landowners there along Seagrass. And I'm gonna echo what Ron said. We can't, thank Tom and Nat Properties enough for approaching us and being able to work with us and hear our concerns. And additionally, the commission as well for being able to make that recommendation and give us that voice. So we're extremely happy we could come up with something that we all agree on. So thank you.
We're taking a couple more weeks. Very good. Okay, any other comments? Anybody?
Kathleen, we have a lot less roadway in here.
Yeah.
Is that, and I presume that our emergency services like fire and so on, this isn't going to be any
No.
issue for them?
No, I mean, they'll still have 2 accesses in because they'll have an access in off of Edgewater Drive as well. So.
Okay, no other comments or questions? We have a motion.
I make a motion that, according to Bridgeview Plat 2, that we approve the request dated March 13th, pursuant to the recommendations.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Not, we have a roll call vote.
Turklet,
Yes.
Dietz,
Yes.
Olfest,
Yes.
Bowersox,
Yes.
Hankins.
No.
Oh, Vogel, sorry. Sorry.
That's a yes.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it's passed. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, neighbors, for being here.
Absolutely.
Okay, next item, staff report.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I really had to report is, just so you're aware, if you see some construction back behind Fenders, they are going to be installing, I believe it's a refrigeration unit, but they're actually installing it on top of an existing foundation and under an existing roof, so it does not require a site plan. So I thought I'd let you know, just if you saw some work there. We didn't bypass you, it's just that because there's a foundation and a roof there, it did not meet the requirements to kick in a site plan, so did not come in front of you.
Glad you mentioned that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else?
I'll speak real quick.
Yeah.
Since I don't come that often. So, and contrary to belief, it wasn't as a result of what was in front of you tonight. It was more just timing. Main thing I wanted to come tonight, and in case you guys weren't aware, I just wanted to personally let you guys know that Gary Mahan did retire. His last day was the 1st, and so we've been doing a great job. Staff's been doing a wonderful job of taking care of things. Kathleen will be running point as far as at all P&Z meetings until we get figured out exactly where we're at. We're going to be talking about, we're going to be bringing in a search firm to help us through that process, to help through process probably a 6 to 8 month timeline. So in order to get, I think what we need and to fill that role. So between obviously Jenny, Becky running in front, myself, whatever I can help with, but any questions, make sure you're reaching out to Kathleen or Snyder staff as a whole. They'll be taking care of all the development stuff. They'll be everything taken care of on this end.
Good update. Okay. Committee report. Or commission report, sorry. Any comments?
Well, we have this,
yeah.
workshop, and when I first came on the board, I went to one of these, and I found it very helpful. I may try and go to another one here since it's been so long ago, just to kind of get some of these. But I think it's worthwhile. I think it's just a 1 day.
And it's even in the evening,
Yeah, it's an
so
evening.
Oh,
I think it's a 3-hour workshop.
good agenda. Not
And
really.
if you want to go and just submit back to the city, we'll cover your costs on it. So.
Okay. Fair enough.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. That looks like a good program.
it does.
I think I'll probably go.
I'd like to attend.
So you should.
Right.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner?
Since we have the mayor.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Hold on. I gotta go catch Tom here. before he gets out here.
We have a meeting last month.
Yes.
This is dating back
Yes.
to January. There was discussion as to whether we would continue having a council liaison to the P&Z.
Yep. And so.
How did that land?
Well, we haven't landed yet, quite honestly. So liaison thing started way back in, not way back, gosh, that sounds awful to say it this way. So this started back in Gary Hira's days, Mayor Hira's days, with him and Ron Anderson, and there were some differing opinions as far as how we got to the point of having liaisons. So we're looking at that as what exactly we're going to do. I don't know. It was conversation that, quite honestly, Gary and I had been having even in-house, and so come first part of February, things kind of changed around here. So we're going to work through that. It may be a rotation. We just haven't yet decided exactly what we're going to do. It just hasn't taken priority right now with other things that have been going on. But it's out there. So it may be a case that we get to, like I say, a rotating thing. We kind of got stagnant on some things, not only just with our liaisons, but with some of our committee appointments. People who had just been on, not on this committee, but internal committees, that have been on committees for, 15 years or whatever. So we're just trying to keep it fresh.
Okay. We have, at least speaking from my behalf, we've appreciated having a councilman liaison here. And I hate to throw even more info into the works, but
Sure.
with Mayor Burt, you have the council liaison.
Then maybe it went back to Burton. Well, see, Ron and I have talked about this. It may have gone back even to Burton. It may have gone back. Ron and I have had a number of conversations about it. Yeah. Yeah, Ron. Tell you the story.
Okay, anything else? Now we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. You're adjourned. Thanks, Justin. Have a good afternoon, evening. All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, so I would probably make sure we don't want to just go straight on.
Yeah.
Not my thoughts. I didn't realize it was 120 feet.
Oh,
Yes.